Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for attending today. We really appreciate it. We are Panhandle Builders, also known as PHB. We are a local general contractor specializing in commercial construction local to Orlando, Florida. We really appreciate the opportunity to respond to requests for proposal for both Phase 1 and Phase 2. So today we'll be giving you guys a brief overview on how we plan to construct this project. To get right into it, there's a nice org chart there, breakdown of our team here. I'm Anthony Souza, your senior project manager. I will be the liaison between three entities, yourself as the owner, us as a general contractor, and also the design firm, Shekel Schultz Architecture. Anything you need, I am here for you guys.
Hello everyone, my name is Keith Dong, senior estimator. I'm going to be on this project for 2 months to manage the buyout and making sure that we're going to meet the 12% MIBI-WIBI goals.
Hello everyone, my name is Agustin Hernandez. I'm going to be your safety manager for this project. I'm going to be in charge of the accident prevention plan, the AHAs, the safety indoctrination, and most importantly, we want to incorporate our zero accident safety culture, and we're going to try to incorporate into the Highline community so we can see that as the presentation continues.
And my name is Matt Forney, and my contribution in the construction of this RFP was designing a lot of our site phasing, building our schedule, and designing how we want to attack this job.
Thanks, Matt. One thing I'd like to point out, as you guys can see on our org chart there, is we do have a project manager full-time for this project and a PE also. And then we also have our assistant superintendent. Those three are not with us today, but are part of our team for this project. To get right into it, we have two examples of projects we have built in the past that qualify us for this LUHS project. This first one is a PK Young Developmental Middle School. One of the key points that I should point out for you guys is it was an active construction site, but was also an active school site. So we had to deal with things like an active school site, a normal working day, your 8 to 5, things of that sort. And our number one priority was student safety. We were working in close vicinity, so I had to maneuver around things of that sort. This project also held 810 students and was a LEED Gold project. So it shows the quality of work we are able to do. The other thing I'd like to know, as you can see there, Shekel Schultz Architecture was a design firm on this project, so we do have an existing relationship with them, and it's definitely an excellent one. On to the next project. There's going to be a Lake Nona office building. This was a 4-story slab on metal deck steel structure. Just like this LHPS is, it's a structural steel building as well. As you can see on the image there, there's some exterior glazing and metal paneling. Those same scopes on this project we will be building for LHPS are very, very similar to that same material there. Another thing I'd like to note is this was a lakefront construction build process. So there was a body of water nearby, and we did have to deal with dewatering and a low water table and things of that sort. So we do have that tool in our tool belt for this project at hand. Up next, I'd like to hand it over to our estimator, Kia Dong.
Thank you, Anthony. Let's talk estimate. So for this job, both Phase 1 and Phase 2, the total cost is going to be $26.3 million. Of those $26.3 million, we're going to self-perform 9% of it for the non-structural framing, the flooring finishes, except for the sealed concrete, and we're going to handle the doors, frames, and hardware. And then the rest of the scopes, we're going to sub out to our trade partners. Next, we have a general conditions of 8.6%. That's going to cover our staffing, our general requirements, and our site services. And we carry a 4.5% for the contractor fee. And then other costs such as builder's risk, insurance, or bonds, or owner contingency, that's going to be the 3.14%. Next, I would like to pass it on to our safety manager, who's going to talk about how PHB is going to implement safety practices.
All right, let's dive right into safety. We're going to start off with our first point, which is going to be the codes. We're going to be working with OSHA 2019 for workplace safety. I'm going to go down over some of the technology that we have and two of my favorites that I like to apply to the safety aspect. We have Navisworks, which in addition to the coordination and clashes, we're able to see what crews are going to be working within that area and coordinate their safety needs on the projects. We also like to use Insta360 for the inspections. We're able to get those items, have them backed up in our database, and if we have to make corrections on the way material was stored or anything like that, we could always refer back to that. We also want to implement the JLG scissor lift, which is going to reduce the amount of ladders, and it's also electric, which that's going to be a great feature for emissions. Some of the major hazards that we've identified are going to be the elevated concrete. We have the metal panels, the curtain wall, and also the engineered scaffolds. Let's move on to the next point. We have addendum number 5, which is going to incorporate demolition of Hale and Johnson and the abatement. For the demolition, we want to make sure that all the equipment in those buildings has been depressurized and any HVAC needs to be removed. We're going to get with our trade partner and make sure that that is removed because it's important for the air filtration for the abatement. When it comes to the abatement, we're going to get our abatement trade partner to make sure they submit their qualifications, they're using their proper PPE, that our waste bins have been labeled, and we're going to take it to a site that is located 16 miles from the project south, and they're going to handle that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next point. We have our cranes. We're going to be using the LR 1130 for this crane. We're going to label our access control zones. If we place that 150 feet from the building, we're able to reach 33,000 pounds. So that is going to affect our critical lifts. We are good on those. They're going to be 80-foot pieces at 13,000 pounds for the second, third, and fourth floors. And we also have the spider crane that's going to be working on the roof. So we're going to coordinate what work is being done so that all the other trades are aware of that. And finally, our last point, this is going to be soundproofing and windows. This is kind of like for the community because we like, if anybody's still using those two, Johnson and Hale, we want to provide some privacy. We want to provide some protection, and it's going to limit distractions on the project. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass it on to Matt for schedule and site logistics.
Thank you, Augustine. So we want to take a moment and talk about schedule, and then we're going to move into how our construction is going to impact the owner and your operations. So we're going to receive our NTP on April 17th, 2023, and after a 459 calendar day duration, have a substantial completion on phase 1 for July 19th, 2024. From then, we're going to have a 30-day grace period where the owner has time to occupy the new HPS center. And there we're going to begin demolition and abatement of Hale and Johnson Hall in phase 2. After that, we're going to have a final or substantial completion on phase 2 of January 15th, 2024. Moving on to how we're going to actually affect the owner and your guys' site. I'm going to start with phase 1 when we're doing our site utilities. All sidewalks going through the site are going to be blocked off, and signage is going to be installed to show that this is a construction site, and we're going to work with our safety team to do that. Our construction entrance is going to be on the northwest corner, and during this time, we're also going to be fencing off the lower or the southwest corner so that we can install our domestic water line on the south end of the site. So during that time, we'll not have access between that trail going from Johnson Hall to Highland Avenue. Moving on to where we're going to kind of retreat as soon as we get those site utilities in, and this is where we're going to ride through the rest of the project, is that we're going to be able to give that area back to the owner so that you and your students can move through there with ease. And then we're going to move and look at phase 2, and one important note I want to make is that on the north end of phase 2, all the hardscaping is going to be completed during phase 1. And what that does is it allows the owner to occupy their new building through the north end of the site. Then we can move to the south end, erect our sweepy, our site fencing, and begin the demolition of Hale and Johnson Hall, installation of the exfiltration system, and abatement of the material and placement of the new parking lot. So with that said, I want to hand things back over to Anthony, who's going to discuss why you should choose Panhandle Builders as the GC to lead this project.
Sweet, thank you, Matt. So as you can see listed here, I have 5 main reasons that I want to leave with you guys on why you should choose PHB. The first and foremost is we're local and experienced. I said we are based out of Orlando, Florida. We have been a contractor for 45 years. And us as a project team, all of us on this project on that initial org chart I showed you have a combined of over 100 years of construction experience. Yes, I said that correctly, over 100 years of construction experience. The next one will be our cutting edge technology, as Augustine kind of touched on there. What we want to provide for you guys as the owners is an on-site fill, but off-site. Anytime you need to see daily logs, photos, things of that sort, we have that for you. And if the Highlander community wants access to that, we could potentially discuss that and provide that for you guys. The next two is going to be self-perform opportunities. In our estimate, they discussed that a little bit. What that does is drive schedule. The next thing is going to be the 0.7 EMR rating and an ABC Step Platinum. One of our goals before we hit a 50-year mark as a general contractor is to get ABC Step Diamond. That completes our presentation. Thank you guys for listening today. We'd like to open it up to questions and answers.
Yeah, thank you guys. We certainly appreciate the attention that you've paid to this facility and the presentation that you've put together in considering this project. Just to kick off the questions that we have for you as a selection board today, I wanted to ask a little bit just about the market conditions and how you guys have accounted for cost escalation risk, how you can ensure that that won't be something that becomes an owner risk, and any conversations you've had with key trade partners to date on how you're going to manage that.
Okay, so I'm going to take that question. So to answer your questions, after talking to our trade partners, they guarantee us the price for 60 days. However, if we're going past that 60 days, us, PHP, and you, we're going to share the risk of potentially pulling out our contingency as well as the owner contingency to cover those costs.
So you say you have 100 years of experience on that org chart, which is awesome. You also say in your RFP that you understand the importance of innovation. So how do you fight this is the way we've always done it?
Correct. Yeah, so us being a team that has been, obviously we know in 45 years, things have significantly changed, correct? Like I mentioned there, technology. So obviously there is sort of growing pains with that, trying to get some of the people on board with that. But we have not had a problem in office implementing that structures because of the software. It makes your day-to-day activities not only easier, but more efficient. So anytime we can provide that for you guys as an owner, it makes that process a lot easier to do that. So that's one of the reasons why people are so willing to just hop on that train and implement innovative softwares.
Hey, Matt, from a constructability standpoint, what is your firm's biggest challenge or risk? And what is your firm doing to manage that risk?
So I would say our firm's biggest challenge is going to be achieving dry-in as fast as possible. In order to do that, we're going to be setting curtain wall and doing exterior framing on two fronts using two cranes. And using two cranes can create some safety challenges, but we're prepared to work with our safety team to make sure that no conflicts arise.
Okay.
In your response with the Lake Nona office building project that you all did, you mentioned that you all exercise more off-site fabrication than any project in the company's history. Do you see any opportunities on this project to do the same thing?
Absolutely. So I was the superintendent out there, and I made the decision that we wanted to fabricate all of our curtain wall and insulated metal panels and storefront off-site and then bring it on-site to the install. And that's the same plan we have here that we're going to enact. And that's going to allow us to bring the material in on time with the just-in-time delivery and install it the same day or day after. That's going to eliminate the risk of the material getting damaged, and it's also going to accelerate our schedule and make sure that we can keep our promises we're making for when we want to achieve building dry-in.
Follow-up question on that, when would you all be looking for payment on those types of products, either at install or at fabrication?
Those type of payments, we want, as soon as we begin procuring, we're going to look for half of the payment, and then upon installation, that's when we're going to look for the final second payment.
Thank you.
You had a notice to proceed date in April, and then a completion date of July of 24. You didn't really talk about lead times of electrical and mechanical equipment. How do you guys plan to mitigate that to complete on time?
Yeah, so our biggest concern is the switchboard. It's a 2,000 amp switchboard located in EL 101. And the reason it's a concern is because electrical equipment has such a long lead time. And in order to mitigate that, we are buying out all of our MEP scopes in bid package 1 so that they can begin procuring the equipment as soon as possible.
On that note, you touched on it in your prefabrication, will you be expecting payment from us at the time of purchase of those materials? That's a two-part question. One, it's for our cash flow, but two, once you've we've paid you for that. If there's any issues along the way, are you going to be expecting a change order on that from us, or are you going to cover any additional cost to get that to us sooner or on time?
Definitely, what we usually do is like a 90% payment, and then we can hold 10% between ourselves for retainage if any issue were to occur. All of us as a team are familiar with the RFI process. Sometimes it can be frowned upon, and we can just negotiate it on the side instead if there is a problem that arises. But that 10% there in the financial should cover that cost if it were to arise, if that's comfortable with you guys.
So you just mentioned that to overcome some long lead items you were going to purchase in bid pack 1, your MEP. What is the rest of your purchasing strategy for the remainder of the bid packages?
Yeah, so for a lot of the material that's easily, readily available, we actually are pushing out some of the submittals. And what that's going to allow us to do is it's going to be able to prioritize the structural and long lead scopes and not overwhelm the architect or the owner as we look for your guys' approval for those submittals.
Can you speak to your submittal process? Who do you engage with the staff, and how do you ensure that that happens both expeditiously and gets the quality review?
For sure. Or did you want to take that, Anthony?
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. So we begin with buyout. And what we do with buyout is we make sure we have a subcontractor who is going to be able to fulfill the submittal and procurement requirements. From there, we let them prepare their submittals, whether that be the product information or the shop drawings. Then those submittals go to us and we review and approve. If we have any problems with them, we'll send them back to the trade partner so that they can review and resubmit. Upon our approval, it's going to go to the owner to be approved, or I'm sorry, the architect to be approved, Schenkel Schultz, and upon their approval, it will go to the owner and back to the trade partner so they can begin procuring the equipment and material.
Did you identify any variances that you intend to submit, or are you intending to be compliant with the specifications as produced?
Yeah, with this project being a hard bid, we do assume that the drawings are done and complete. But if that issue were to arise in that scenario, we are definitely open to working with that and improvising where needed.
I have a question about the estimate. You carried a 1% owner contingency. That's quite low for what we normally see and what we were anticipating. Is there a reason you have a lower than usual contingency on this project?
Yes, so we want to be competitive, and first of all, we don't own the plan and specs. That's why we have the 1%. That 1% is going to drive the schedule, or if like I said, if there's any risk with escalation costs, we're going to have to pull that out with our own contingency.
Okay, thank you.
Over the course of the estimate, were you guys able to identify any VE options?
Can you repeat that?
Over the course of the estimate and looking at the plans and specs, were you guys able to identify any value engineered options for cost savings?
Yeah, so one of the things for cost savings in that, me and Matt went through a very thorough process, him as a senior soup and me as the senior project manager. We offer an awards program for quality and things of that sort. So if you do a constructability report and it does lower your estimate or your schedule and cuts that schedule, we do offer awards. So in that process, we did do it and we did not get any initially. But if there were to be any during the duration of the project, we'd be more than happy to implement that and reward those individuals that are part of our team.
Can you tell me a little bit about your warranty plan?
Yeah, I can tell you about our warranty plan. So we have a step in place. It is a 1-year general construction warranty. We do a final walkthrough, and if there's any rework items that we'd like to discuss that you bring up, we will jot those down and then go ahead and perform those at a later time. The warranty will be initiated then at final completion, and then you have a 1-year warranty as I stated. We will be performing both a 4-month and 9-month warranty walkthrough, and that process will be exactly the same. Walk through, do any rework items if that is the case. So that is our warranty process, and I have a nice flow chart and RFP that breaks it down for you. Basically, if there is rework items, yes, go this way, no, go the other direction. So that is our warranty plan.
What's the average duration to close out your warranty items?
Yeah, our average duration for the closeout in that is anywhere from 1 to 3 months, depending on the severity of that. We do assure you a quality product, so it is usually on the lower end of the spectrum, near 1 to 2 months.
So it says here, as the senior project manager, you could be managing up to 5 large-scale commercial projects at any given time. How can you reassure us that you're actually going to give us the attention that we actually expect as the owner building a project that's so important to our community, our faculty, our students?
Absolutely. As I said before, anything you need, I'm here. I know Kit billed me in for 20% of the time on this project, but anything you need, I'm here. Whether that's over 20% of my time, we'll only bill you for 20%. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, whether that's 30, 40%, 100% of my time. Those students are a priority in me and my heart, so we will assure that for you.
Augustine, what is the biggest safety risk for this project in your opinion, and what are you guys doing to mitigate that?
That's an excellent question. For this project, I'm going to say the coordination between the 2 cranes and making sure that we get the LR 30 placed correctly. We get those access zones because it is a reduced amount. As Matt was saying, we have on-site delivery of some of the materials, so we have a reduced amount of space. We get the inspections for the balancing correct, and we don't have anybody working within those vertical zones. And every item that gets lifted, we're going to have that submitted, the plan that's going to be submitted. And we also have the spider crane on the roof. So making sure that that spider crane can provide all those metal panels and the curtain walls.
Thank you.
Earlier, we talked a little bit about the owner contingency value. You also indicated a 4.5% fee on the project. Is that something you guys would be willing to discuss?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd like to offer to you guys that if you can assure that you choose Panhandle Builders as your contractor, we'd like to proceed with the 4.5%, if that's fine with you guys.
Correction, we're going to go with the 4% if you guarantee us the contract.
Hey guys, being that there's going to be a lot of concrete work, and then of course the demolition of the buildings, you're working on an active campus where there's going to be, you know, individuals around the area. What is your plan for not only yourself but your subs on handling the amount of dust and silica dust specifically that's going to be in the air? You know, not only from the demolition but also from the tools that, you know, you're going to be using as well, or that your subs are going to be using. I mean, have you guys thought about that?
Absolutely. So silica and respiratory problems are a big problem in construction. In terms of drywall, that's probably one of our main concerns, and all of our drywall saws are going to be equipped with vacuum devices to suck up the dust as it is being produced. And then during concrete, we're not anticipating having any cement, dehydrated cement on site that's in the powder form, so that really reduces the risk of silica inhalation. And then Augustine's going to speak a little bit about phase 2 when we begin abatement of Hale and Johnson Halls.
Yes, for the abatement process, we're going to be working with our trade partner on that scope. They're going to go in and make sure they close off that area. Like I said, the HVAC equipment is going to be removed to make sure the air doesn't go into those other rooms. So they're going to use the vacuum to make sure they get that dust. We're going to get that, I believe it's like a sealant that is going to get the particles that are going to go down and stick to the walls. And then we're going to have the air quality test that is going to be done to make sure that passes. If it did not pass, then we're going to be applying that treatment again until we get that, because we don't want any of that to be exposed.
I have a question regarding self-perform. I see you're going to be self-performing the metal stud framing and drywall. What do you do to ensure us, the owner, that you are providing the most competitive price possible?
Yeah, one way we can assure that best price possible for you is our subcontractor vetting process. So we do go through a thorough review of subcontractors and are familiar with them in the area. And that's usually when we as a team discuss whether we'd like to self-perform that or not. And especially if we've done it in the past, we are more willing to do that scope of work. So that's one of the ways we can assure you that price is the best of the best, by doing a subcontractor vetting process. And then deciding just to self-perform those scopes of work.
That concludes the question and answer, and we appreciate your time and presentation this afternoon.
Thank you, guys.